for this cake we're going to do one of the cakes that look like they're bursting open, and we're going to put some stars on. But the technique I'm going to use is equally well if you want to have a lady bursting out of the cake, do some modelled figures, that sort of thing. And it's an easy way of getting that burst without damaging your cake. So first off, I'm going to put the underneath layer on. Now you don't need it all over the cake, you just need a small amount. So I'm going to use a little bit of black regal ice, rolled quite thinly. So I'm going to have this as the point to the front and some stars at the back. So I'm going to put my circle where I want it to open and just smooth it on. Now, because we're going to do a square cake this time, your rolling technique is slightly different to that of a round cake. On a round cake you do a little bit, turn it, do a little bit, turn it. This time we're going to use quarter turns because we're going to try and get it as square as we can right from the word go. A lot of people tend to roll one way and then stand here and roll the other. The problem with that is that it will stick to your board, or it's far more likely to stick to your board. By moving it, you know that it's not stuck. And if it does feel like it's beginning to, just put a little bit more icing sugar onto your worktop to make sure that it keeps moving. Now with your cake, we're doing the board and the cake, so just measure round to see what you need, because you need it to go across the top, down the side and onto the board. So about the length of that rolling pin is great for this cake. If you're not very good at estimating, you can use a ruler or a piece of string, and that will give you a better guide as to how much icing you need. Now take your smoother at this point and just get rid of those lines that may be left from your rolling out. It's a lot easier to do that on a flat table than it is once you get it onto your cake. Then using either the rolling pin or your hands to lift it, or the technique of lifting it up and slotting your cake underneath, which I always find is easier. Just position the icing over the top of your cake. If you do have a lot of icing hanging down, it's a good idea to just get rid of these very big bits that you know you're not going to use, because they tend to pull the icing and will cause cracking around the top edge if you're not careful. And once you've got it on there, smooth carefully around, but try not to press too much on this circle. Just get the rest of the cake nice and smooth. And then you use the edge of your hand to smooth in round the sides. Now with a square cake, you do the corners first. Now in this case it's tending to pull quite nicely because it's warm, but if it doesn't, just push in the corners first, even if these sides come out, because it's easier to do in the flat sides afterwards. You have this tendency to feel that you want to do the flat bits and then pull the corners in, but that way you will get folds in your icing. And if you have a bit there where it hasn't quite reached where you want it to, just hold it out and smooth it in with your hand, and it will stretch to cover. And work your way down until it's all nice and even. Not putting too much pressure on, just smoothing it in. And then around your board. Now again, you can use your smoother just to give it that finishing touch, which will be that little bit smoother again. I personally like the PME smoother because it's got the curved edge, which means you don't tend to dig in as much. But the FMM one's quite a good one as well. I do use that. Again, I have here a little bit of a tear where it's pulling. Just lift it up and re-put it on, and then use your finger. Not too much pressure. Just a little bit of heat, and that will blend it in together again. Now, this top piece, we're going to put some Mexican paste in and have some stars coming out of. So what I'm going to do now is just very lightly cut through to where the black is. Try not to cut the bark too badly, although it's not the end of the world if you do, because you are going to be putting some paste under there. And then peel back those edges. Gives you your starburst, as though it's bursting out from the cake surface. Now you can use any colour under there according to your colour scheme, obviously, and that can look very nice. Now, just to finish the board off, quite often I use crimping, but I do like this tool. This is the PME, it's a blade and shell tool, and the shell side, if you just press it in, you get a lovely shell pattern around the edge of your board. Just a bit different and very, very simple and fast to do.